Hey guys. So last week we worked on some skill books to that the player can pick up and then learn skills from. This week I worked on a proficiency system, and this is very similar to if anyone ever played Stardew Valley, where the more you use a specific tool, and it's going to actually apply to weapons as well. There's not many weapons in Stardew, but the plan is when you use a tool, with each use, you should be more proficient at it, which will reduce the amount of energy that you on each use per level. So I'm planning on doing 10 levels, and each level will be increasingly more difficult to get to. So I expedited it here, so it's a little quicker on the level up. So I'm using a pickaxe. So level 1 is reached after one um, mine, or whatever you would call it, one use of the pickaxe. And I changed some of the UI a little bit, so there's different effects for the text that pops up. So this might take, 5 more. I forgot how many I set it for. So level 2 proficiency reached after using it like 10 times. And level 3, 3. Now the levels, and I'm going to change the UI. The levels are different than the proficiency. Now this is just like a rapid test of it. And there you go, level 4. And then actual player level 5, you see down here the experience. Now I'll come over here to the trees. So I'm going to be using an axe here. Level 1 axe proficiency. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I forgot how many, 12, 13. Alright. So I gotta fix that a bit. But essentially the goal here was to create a system that um, allows the player to use a tool and it gains in that proficiency. So right now I have the base part set up. I just have to work on the actual XP required formula, and I didn't test that yet, but I got the main system working right now. And let me just go real quick into the code so you guys can see what we did here. So first off, I made a class called Proficiency. I have a proficiency type, which is I put in my enums class, and it could be axe, bow, dagger, fishing pole, fist, hoe, pickaxe, watering can, and there's a proficiency level, so 1 through 10, XP current, XP required. So when you start off, it'll be XP required. I think I'm going to set for 10, and then with each use, maybe you'll increase it by 1. And with each level up, I made it so XP required becomes 10 times the square root of the level times the current or the new proficiency level to the second power or squared. And that kind of makes from what I did in Excel in the charts, it makes a like a smoother bell curve. So it's rather than linear like across, it's more like easier in the early levels, and then gradually gets more difficult as you go. So as I mentioned before, I made it so it's more rapid just for the testing. So each XP you gain, each attack of like the pickaxe or the axe you gain. I put it as 2. I think I'm gonna put it for 1, and then just lower the experience required eventually when I balance everything. But just for the main systems here, so we have current required. So this is each proficiency, and I have a proficiency manager which creates all of them to start. So on void start creates all proficiencies, and this is for each enum proficiency. It's going to create a new proficiency class, change the type to whatever that enum, as we mentioned before, is. So it goes through pretty much, looks for axe. It creates an axe, a proficiency class with the axe type, bow, dagger, fishing pole, and then at the end of, the start of this method, it creates all the required proficiencies. Rather, I was thinking about doing a separate variable for each, but um, it was probably going to be too much code, so I made it a little bit more efficient. And also in the proficiency manager, I have a gain XP, which takes in the proficiency type and the number and the amount of XP it's going to gain. It finds that proficiency in the list, which is created here, this proficiency list. It's a list, obviously, of all the proficiencies, as we see here. And then for the actual energy use, so as I mentioned, with each level, there's a reduction in energy cost. So we have, and I'm gonna have to tweak this as I go, but it's working correctly right now. So the final energy cost would be the base tool or weapon cost. So in this case, I made it 3, multiplied by 1 minus the 0.05. So it's going to be about 5%, I'm thinking, energy reduction per level of proficiency. And it's going to get the proficiency level of whatever the tool you're using or weapon. So I'm going to have to kind of organize this. So it might be like one type of combat class, and then I'll be able to use it for all different weapons or axes, and maybe I'll just change the type like I did with the proficiency, rather than have like pickaxe combat, axe combat. And I'm just kind of piggybacking off what I did earlier, but now that I understand programming a little bit better, I can make everything more organized into a single class and then derive from that. And so again, yeah, final energy cost equals base times the reduction, and that's the energy cost that it's going to use. And it's each of these, like, weapon or tool classes are going to pull from instance that get proficiency level. So it's going to take the required level, multiply it by the 0.05, and then reduce the energy cost by that much. So level 1 would be like 95%, 0.95 times the base energy, and so on and so forth, up until, let's say, like 50% energy reduction. And I believe I'm going to make it so, like, each weapon, as you upgrade, it will do more damage, so you could do it more quickly, the different tasks. But it's going to cost more energy to do so. So it's gonna make people, rather than someone who just buys a great, because they have the gold or the materials, they could just make an axe or a pickaxe of like silver or gold as you get further into the game. But it's going to cost them more energy because they haven't worked with that tool, or if they have, it's going to be more efficient, and they're going to have much more efficient use each day of their energy with that particular tool. Now I did make it so you could use like any tool. For example, use a sword. It does like 10 damage, but the proper tool will deal double damage. You're gonna most likely want to use the proper tool, but again, if you're super efficient and you have like the really good weapon, it's gonna cost you more energy, but you could still deal more damage. So a sword that's like, let's say, tier 3, tier 4 might do the same damage as like a tier 1 axe to the tree. So you could use it, but it's not as efficient. All right, so I got a little sidetracked, but that's what I did this week. Next week, I want to focus on making something here where you could maybe select each item slot and then have this change with the descriptions. And I'm trying to map everything out in a document so I understand, what system works with what, and what different item types will require different buttons. So there might be like equip or add to action slot, use if it's a consumable, read if it's a skill book. And I gotta make it so as I add more items, it'll be easy to update. So I gotta think about all that, and that's about it for now. Let me know if you guys have any questions or comments below, and at least the quest system still seems to be working. I didn't break anything. Level 2 achieved. Pick up the ore. Get the reward. There we go. Alright, so that's it. Thanks for watching.